Hello and welcome to Talking Tactics. It's been a while. I hope you all had a good Christmas and Happy New Year. Mine was a bit rough. I was in bed with the flu that seems to be going around, and then that developed into a chest infection, and I was just coughing, and it's been a nightmare to try and edit. And apologies if you hear some during this. My voice still isn't the best. And all in wins as well. Just kept winning over Christmas, loads of goals. And then when we come back to, it's a draw with Man United at home. So, in fairness, oftentimes the best type of analysis comes, as Dan used to say all the time, from defeats or dropped points. Time to focus on your weaknesses. So, hopefully, this is informative. It was a weird game to watch. The weather wasn't obviously great. That's an understatement. It was terrible here in North Wales. It was seemingly equally as bad and rainy in Liverpool. But, that's no excuse for some of the things that did happen. So let's get on to the team sheets. Pretty much full strength for us. Canate returns, thankfully. And Dom was ill. So Jones came in, but it might have been the case, even if it had been available. Same formation, same setup. Nunes doesn't get a look in again. Diaz is a false nine. A lot of criticism for that. We're moving on to United's. They persisted. A lot of people said they might not persist with that formation because of the lack of the time they've had working on it on the training ground, but they did. And there was a few little interesting tweaks within it. If you look at the passing network, you can see possibly, if not the main, certainly in mainstream, was the focus on our right side, on Trent's side. And if you look at Man United's there, you can see trying to create overloads constantly. You can see how far up the pitch Trent was. He was behind Robertson, though, but there was not another ball there. So in us trying to use one of our key strengths, which is the link-up play between your right-sided 8 or 6/8 and Salah and Trent, just didn't really happen much. Not only didn't it happen, but whether it is through the tactical setup that Trent was being asked to do, being further up the pitch, gets close to Salah as possible, which has created so much success for us. It also created a huge vulnerability for us. Now, I want to put this in context of the chances created in the game. A lot of focus has been on how amazing Man United were. We are that poor at home to Man United and create nearly 3 XG. It's hard to, on this one, it's 2.71 to 1.3. On others, the margin is even bigger. It's hard to. We've won by nearly 2 XG in the game, one in inverted commas because it's just a one match analysis, so you can only talk about the chances. But I think it was 4 big chances, 3 missed. The only one converted for us was the penalty. In game states as well, that would have killed it off. But then, in fairness, as we'll come on to, you've got the fact that Man United did create big chances, or a big chance in the first half down the side that we're going to be focusing on today, but the cross was just a little bit behind Ahmad, and instead of it registering a big chance, which he was, I think it went down as a headed pass or something because it went backwards. So that's missed things. But they didn't in the first half. They hardly created anything. They had that one threat then. Oh, just to say, look at this old school Anfield Index T-shirt. So old school, it's only got 5 stars on. That's how long I've been here. I can't even remember when I got this. It might have been on the training course for in Liverpool. Anyway, Gags will know. So, on to what the main talking points are of the game. In previous games, and possibly in this one, it might have been an effective tactic, was the pressing. And during that, and during that, we know how effective we've been against Man United in recent years, especially under Klopp. And Mark did a brilliant analysis. And did we pay them too much respect? I'm not sure that was the case. Yes, our pressing under Klopp was toned down in this game under Slot, without a doubt. And trying to force them centrally, they then had the option to overload and take the risk on our right side. But then during that, we had times where we counter. It was, and I'm going to keep coming back to it at time because the weather. If you're trying to make a long, flat, accurate, precise pass along the ground, for instance, for United's first goal, opening goal, Trent plays that and it's going to Salah, but Martinez nicks in front of him. Had it not been drenched, that they got to Salah before Martinez gets to him. What you can't forgive is then the lack of tracking after that. So that's a different shape. United are getting used to their 3-4-3 system, and obviously the exploitation on our right side was obvious for everyone to see. Now, the narrative since then, and I've seen 2 different things, and I'll put my bias on the table. Trent's my favourite player. So to hear a lot of the criticism is strange, but then there's the contrast, because Dan Kennett and Phil Barts were at the game, and they said they didn't hear any criticism of Trent. But then Gareth Roberts said he did hear some moans, and especially after a couple of passes went astray. And the narrative is going to build, and I think it was the second headline on the BBC. What does this mean for Trent? How has it got to this stage? Trent's been excellent since he came back from injury. But in this game, some of the passes went astray. Some ones that he could make under any condition, to be fair. But it was the tracking. It was the effort. They did, and I'll admit this myself, did seem to be a worrying lack. Well, not lack. Yeah, a worrying lack of putting in them. If things aren't going your way on the ball, put the effort in off. You can get that back. But yeah, let's come on to some screenshots of. Again, this is Mark's excellent analysis, and this is it this one? Is it an earlier one? Oh, that's for a big chance that Mac had, and that's coming down the side where we are going to be effective at times with Trent and Salah interchanging, and midfielders making runs into space where they're not being trapped because you marking your Diaz's, the Gakpos, And then you've got players coming across to mark Salah and Trent. So that was effective. But the issue, and it did come in the second half, the issue, Konaté's first game back, is he going to be on point with his positioning at all times? No. Was Curtis or Grav realising what was going on early enough? Slot should have mentioned it at half-time. But you got Dalot there, and you've got Fernandes dropping in to the space constantly. If you look at his heat map and where he was touching the ball, and as I showed you earlier on the passing network, Man United's links, they were constantly trying to feed it into that space. People were constantly trying to run in behind. And as you've got from the previous image, you've got Trent and Salah there, and then they get it quickly, win the ball back quickly. Or if we're building slowly and Trent's moving up the field and then they win it back, you can end up with situations where you've got players running in behind your right back, running in a channel between your right back and your right-sided centre-back. And that happened 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Trent and Konaté both dealt with some of those, but the ones that didn't ended up in either a big chance or worse, a goal. And this is the opening one. Our setup looks good there. There's a player offside. You've got Trent marking, and it was a ball into Martinez. But then when he wins that, look at this. How are the attackers? And this is it's just basic schoolboy stuff, isn't it? Really, if you do not let attackers get on the wrong side of you, on the edge of your penalty area. There's 3 there, and while we've got 4 players around 1, if he can just dink a little ball through, which is what happened, 2 a defender running. So he's not being tracked because he's just won the ball back, and you're not marking defenders very often running in from midfield. It's just basics. And in fairness, with the shot, I thought it was a 0.06 shot, and yeah, he's hit it hard, and I called it a thunder bastard in the group, but I think Alisson would be slightly disappointed. It's not a criticism, but I think he himself, to be beaten from that angle, was it someone Keller falling over? No, it's not. As I said, it's if you've got players who strike it that well from that distance, that angle, sometimes you've got to say fair play on the shot, but the build-up, and Trent won the ball back and then gave it away immediately. Frustrating, and to go 1-0 down to this shower, and yeah, they're going to improve, and yeah, the analytical cliche of it was a cup final, and it felt like it. I don't think you could say there were many players on their team who came off having not given everything, and you might be able to say that about ours, because I think they had covered more distance, more high-speed sprints. It was really disappointing as a team, the lack of competing in effort. But these are the payoffs, and some of the criticism of Slot post-match has been leaving Trent on too long. I think we can all agree he did. Bradley seemed much more effective doing it. It's obviously going to be fresher, and Trent managed to cope with it for 45 minutes min. But and I've also read that Slot was getting annoyed with the crowd for criticising Trent. If any fan, as I said, he's my favourite player. I'd have said it. If you see a player who you don't think is putting everything in against Man United, for God's sake, of all the teams, he deserves fans saying, "What the fuck are you doing, lad? I want 100% here. You might not be working for you on the ball. Put the effort in off." And in situations like this, he weren't doing that. He was switching off. It was so frustrating to watch. And again, look at it is for the goal, but look at that context was a key context for us dropping points here. And fair play to United for exploiting it and then making sure the players, when they were in the positions, were effective at getting around what players we had. Now, it doesn't, to me, that looks like you got a player each. Who's going to go where? We're in a good situation. It's when you can see the massive gap is between Curtis and Canate there, and that's where the goal comes from. So it's a team thing, but it's also, as we've just touched on, the level of effort, because if you're tracking well and you're tracking players well and you're getting on the right side of them to defend, you can stop that shot happening. You can stop that through ball from being played. As I said, it's basics of defending. And there were a couple there who didn't do it. Grav there's not doing it. Don't let him get on that side. And obviously, I did note this at halftime in my notes. I didn't mind gambling on Trent moving further forward, because if you'd have noticed in the first half, there were plenty of times when United were double teaming him, as you would. If that's going to happen, it's going to be an ineffective route to creating chances, to creating goals. It's going to frustrate Salah as well. So you do need players to commit and to try and either overload or complement and make sure it's at least one-on-one. What worked for us is that running behind and look at all their defenders, put a clever run and a brilliant bit of skill and finish. It seemed to me it was quite, at times, quite simple to break them down. They weren't brilliant defensively. They weren't. So for context, had this game finished 1xG all, I would have said United have restricted us defensively and caused us problems down our weakest element. Fine. Didn't happen. We create enough chances to win this game. Big chance in the first half. Didn't take it. Two other big chances in the second that we missed as well. Obviously, the one that we converted was the penalty. That's pretty vital. It's pretty big as a context for analysis. And if someone sent me a couple of clips from Match of the Day, and I've read comments about it. Apparently, it was a Man United loving, like a fest on how good they were. If that's their level now, that they can come to us and barely create 1xG and concede 3 and come away with a point of a late equaliser. They've fallen, which is good to see. But this is how you can take them apart, because they haven't got the level of quality that we have. And where there is an equaliser, and where there's an equaliser, Man United, Liverpool, we're just on levels above them. And in this game, our weakest side was combined with a weak level of effort by our biggest tactical risk of the game. You could say, was Diaz effective as the false nine? Did he create many chances? I think he had one big one. Would Gakpo have been coming off? Maybe. Was Jones effective as he has been? Probably alongside Graver's been one of our former midfielders. No. Apparently there was frustration in the crowd from him not complimenting on or taking too long on the ball, which to me is a bit of a lazy trope, but it did look like it at times in this game. That they were, but this is a perfect opportunity. This is a second phase. It's after a set piece, and we're just too quick, and it's a brilliant finish from Gakpo. And then we do go ahead after Gakpo's equaliser with the Salah pen, clear pen. Again, VAR doing its job. Michael Oliver giving it. It's a good job it was those involved on VAR, because I think that was our first. Someone said our last penalty against Man United was one converted by Jamie Redknapp, mid-90s. So, yeah. And once we got 2-0 up, I honestly thought it was going to be game over. But again, fair play to United. You've got the analysis, and it's a crucial one there, Bruno Fernandes. You could say it's a left-sided number 10. I think it was a bit more fluid than that. But as you can see, a key start there, won the most ground duels, helped United regain possession nearly 30 times. So not only was he important off the ball positionally to cause the overloads in that area, but he was winning the ball back for his team. And what a contrast this is to some of the Bruno Fernandes performances we've seen. He's been genuinely awful against us. He's looked like he's sulked. He's looked like he's given up. Some of his on-ball contributions have been awful, but he was good in this play. I don't mind giving praise to effective tactical roles from your captain, and it was needed. And as you can see there, for the second goal, Trent again was at fault, and it's really, really frustrating that we can be 2-1 up at home and not kill the game like we have. We gave them too many opportunities in the second half. I was just looking at the XG on the stat, and I think after Salah scores, they win the XG by about 0.8, 0.2, 0.3. So we didn't kill it off. And it doesn't take one player. He came off, remember? It doesn't take one player to cause you not to be able to keep the ball as we have done, kill games, as we did in the title season. Control the ball, keep it slowly, no need to take any risks, no need to commit men forward, stay in your positional roles, play it around them, because our formation really complements well on being able to do that, make them chase. But we didn't. There was still too many at 2-1 up in a game state that it was, with the weather as it was. There was still too many risky passes, still too many frustrating decisions on the ball. You had Núñez doing nothing, basically. I think he had one decent run. He gave away a foul, got a booking, I think. Just a lot of frustrating decisions. Is this the first game where Slot's tactical substitutions have worked? Well, one we've already, I suggested was too late. The Núñez one didn't work, but Diaz wasn't that effective either. Maybe he's just scored, but maybe he could have brought Gakpo off a little bit earlier than he did, switched Diaz to the left-hand side. And if you're in a game of transition, which is what we kind of were making it, or they were trying to make us do that successfully, as it turned out. If you can have basketball, Núñez to me seems like a good individual to have. He does cause chaos, but if you'd have had Diaz, obviously Salah, with Harvey, or pushing our midfielders further forward, if that's how you wanted to, and it seemed that we were taking didn't look like we were trying to control it, trying to bring them on us and play around. It looked like we were getting dragged into their desire to make this open and like basketball either side. And it's frustrating. It was frustrating. But and I've got the Understat league table up if you are watching this on YouTube. But just to describe we're clearly still the best team in the league, offensively and defensively. it's not even that close. You have got a really strong Arsenal side in the on set pieces. Everyone's been talking about that. And you've got a Forest side who, to me, look. Everyone's again. I saw the headline earlier on the BBC Sport saying all Forest have to do is beat us at Forest and then doing a title race. Is that statement true? Probably. But I'll tell you what, they shouldn't be anywhere near the points that they've got. I think the +9, if you look at expected points, that's based on the XG in individual games and what the likelihood is. They're on 40. It says they should be on 31. So Bournemouth, in fact, are the only other team alongside Arsenal, maybe Chelsea. Newcastle are improving, but who should feel hard done by with the amount of points that they've got. They're about 4 or 5 points underneath, but we're top of the league. Clear. With the game in hand. All our, apart from, and it's fair, we haven't conceded, I don't think, from set piece, from a corner. But our corners ourselves haven't been effective. But as you saw, I think Bart did an analysis for UP, you might be able to see it later. We created a huge chance from a well-worked corner, a flick on, and how Van Dijk doesn't put that either side of the keeper, I'll never know. Sam calls him 50p head. It'd have been nice if it had been a 50p head because he went straight out the keeper. It was more like a smooth pound coin. It's hard for me to get too down. One thing I am down about is obviously Trent's effort. It's hard to have a favourite player. And it's important for tactical structure and effectiveness. It's the same with, I guess, Curtis's role, and obviously with Bruno. If a manager sets up in a particular way and the player is not executing their role as asked, it doesn't matter what your tactics are. You're not going to be successful. And in this game, it looked to me, I'm a slop nose, but it looked to me like he was asking Trent to get further forward to combine and help create like a one-on-one overload on them, because they were double teaming Salah every time we got the ball to him, and it was hard to get the ball to him with lots of space. So he did have a few dribbles and runs of players. But you'd think that Dalot was like peak Cafu or peak Trent. But yeah, it was a combination of things, as it usually is. But I don't get or buy into the narrative that one day with a better team, two, anything drastically wrong when was on our side. I don't think Slot did anything drastically wrong. I think maybe 15 minutes too much of Trent. But when you've got a player that good and you've just gone ahead, would he have the composure on the ball? Yeah. Would he be, if we dragged them onto us, would he be able to play that killer through ball once he's spacing behind for Nunez to run onto? Yeah, of course. And that's might have been what he was thinking. And yet, to me, if you're a footballer and you aren't putting in 100%, and we don't know he wasn't, it's just how it looked. And that's his fault, nobody else's. Then he's got to come off as soon as you see that. As soon as you see that for the first goal, that's it. I'd have took him off. I'd have just said, what with that? Where's the tracking? Why haven't you done it again? So I find it hard to criticise Slot. I don't find it difficult to criticise Trent for this performance against arguably our biggest rivals, although not anymore. But I'm not overly worried, and I would have bitten your hand off to be in this position at this stage of the season. So it was frustrating. It's been more frustrating afterwards. Just as anyone will know from everyone who listens to me on UP, cliched, lazy narratives. You would think Man United are putting the best tactical performance of all time, and they've come away with a draw, having been out big chance created, 4-2, 3 XG to 1. Depends on some models. Or maybe the fair result, soon as they got there first. Which does change the game state, but look, we move on. We've got a League Cup semi-final. I'm recording this Tuesday, so that'll be tomorrow. I'm not bothered. I'll be hoping there's no injuries, and I'm in the process of putting together like a tactical overview of our season so far, to come in the gaps. And we've got like an FA Cup game or the League Cup game. And apologies for none over Christmas, but as I say, you can hear my voice isn't back to its best, but hopefully it will be, and we will enjoy and ride this season out with better results. And if everyone gives 100% next time, that will be crucial, because hearing that your favourite player doesn't is pretty grim. Anyway, come on, Reds, tomorrow.